We're live on Instagram and Facebook.
We are. Okay. Good morning, everyone. How are we today? Happy Monday. We're trying out a new day for the English show. Usually we're here on Tuesdays, but all the attorneys at my law firm meet on Tuesdays to discuss their cases and updates. And I've been having to miss that meeting because we had set our show on Tuesdays. And I thought, I really don't want to be missing this meeting with the lawyers. So we're trying this out on Mondays with you guys here live. Let's see if you like it, if you're here. But it's probably going to be Mondays in English and Thursdays in Spanish. And either way, with a live stream, you can catch it later. So sometimes the timing isn't as all that important. If you're new here and you haven't been to my show before, my name is Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch. I am an immigration lawyer of 20 years based in Texas, and I work on all things around immigrant families, advocacy around immigrant families, bringing them together, keeping parents out of detention. And my law firm, Lincoln-Goldfinch Law, is a team of 15 immigration lawyers and the support staff surrounding us that helps families keep legal status and stay out of detention. We're based in Austin, Texas, but we have virtual representation all over the 50 United States and around the globe. Immigration law is federal. So it's one of the practice areas where you don't need a lawyer necessarily licensed in the state where you reside. So an immigration lawyer who's barred in any of the 50 U.S. states can practice in any of the 50 United States. And so we do have lawyers all around the country. Most of us are in Texas. Most of our clients are in Texas, but we can take cases elsewhere. And one of the areas that we've been really busy in is detained cases and habeas cases. So we do a lot of work on bonds and habeas, getting people out of detention. There's been a lot of shifting in that practice area lately. The Fifth Circuit issued a case decision called Sosnava about the due process right to obtain a bond hearing for immigrants. Then they vacated that. So unfortunately, there's been a lot of shifts around that, but I will happily report to you that our habeas cases continue being approved. So we have had some successes, a lot of successes. Last month in June, we were able to get 21 people out of detention just on habeas cases alone. And, the team met last week at our firm-wide meeting to talk through our clients and our statistics. And I was really just reflecting on how important that is. 21 people, it's sort of like the starfish thing. 21 people, it seems like a small number, but imagine the importance of that in these families' lives, the people who are in detention, when every day that ticks by not only traumatizes the children and the family, but it keeps these people away from their jobs and their homes, and it impacts the economy. And I'm very, very glad that the federal court system is recognizing the due process right that people have to be released from detention when they have no criminal history and they have no cause to be detained. And that's really important because, as we all know, the Trump administration has been telling all of us that they're going after the worst of the worst when, of course, in fact, they are the worst of the worst. That's the irony of all of this, that they are the criminals. They are just robbing all of us blind. If you look at how enriched the Trump family has become since he was in office, it is nauseating. And they are so criminal, and the attacks that he personally has had against women and young girls. And then they turn around and say they're going after criminals and immigrants who are criminals. And the data shows that the vast majority of, very big percentage of immigrants who are being apprehended and detained have no criminal history whatsoever, like Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, the man who was killed in Houston for no reason whatsoever. And that is the reality of the situation that we're in. And it's been interesting, each time I do these shows, we do a reflection on the news of the week. And today's show only has 3 headlines. And usually we've got 10 or more. And on the one hand, it's like, oh, kind of quiet. I did just do a show on Friday, so maybe it's like not a lot happened over the weekend. On the other hand, I am worried that we're all getting desensitized to what's happening. It is still completely shocking what is going on in the streets. I posted a video last week of some video footage that I had received that didn't even make the media of a family that was pepper sprayed, a pregnant woman and a 6-year-old girl pepper sprayed by ICE agents in Austin, Texas. Another video of a father in front of a door trying to get his daughter, his 4-year-old daughter, inside with ICE coming up behind him, and they reach around and just grab him and pull him away from his daughter while he's really just trying to shield her. I mean, this stuff is hard to watch, but this is stuff that's not even on the media. And what we have are ICE enforcement actions all around us, cooperative agreements with law enforcement and DPS all around us, people being disappeared on the streets, kids being left behind in vehicles. I mean, it is abhorrent and shocking what is happening, and we need to make sure that all of this stays top of mind. And so I know that the instinct, and because I have it too, is to scroll when you see something horrific like that, and you're like, I've had enough, I can't watch it anymore. And I'm not saying that we necessarily need to like make sure we're watching horrific things before bed at night while we're scrolling, but one of the reasons that we always end this show with an action item is because we do need to be continuing to take small steps to participate and push back from a democratic perspective. And sometimes that looks like being loud and protesting and calling your legislators. And sometimes that looks like more quiet acts of resistance and simple things. So just making sure that we're staying aware and continuing to do that when maybe the news isn't so in our faces. Also, the news is being completely taken over by the oligarchs. And so it's going to be up to us to do our diligence in following the news sources that we know are doing the work out there and subscribing and sharing those articles with your friends and on social media. I mean, be the annoying person who's sharing that stuff. I know some people are like, Kate, I don't love your content because it's like always so divisive and political. Well, TFB, man. I mean, like, this is what we got to do these days. And so, yeah, I am actually a very happy and positive and peaceful person in my life. And I'm not showing up that way on social media because fuck that. I mean, it is really time for us to get out here and tell the truth and be divisive. And if it doesn't make everybody feel sunshine and rainbows, well, guess what? It ain't sunshine and rainbows out there. It's just not. People are dying on the streets. And so I understand wanting to protect your mental health, and we got to keep acting and keep paying attention. So whatever that looks like for you, I'm not going to like tell you exactly what that should look like for you, whether it's seeing the news or seeing the media. Who was it? Oh, I talked to a friend over the weekend, and this is somebody who's, very politically aware, generally historically in his life, married to an immigration lawyer. This person has left the country, lives in another country, and will not watch the news. And on the one hand, I get it. On the other hand, I certainly am not going to live like that. That to me I wouldn't be able to feel good about the way I showed up during this time. I mean, it's like, it's cliche at this point, the comparison with Nazi Germany, but like, when you think about who you were, how did you act in these times? Are you going to be the person that just like closed your curtains and stopped reading the newspaper? Or are you going to be the person that like hid somebody in your attic or, did something bold? Or maybe not as bold, but at least some form of resistance. Okay. Anyway, that was very soapboxy and I apologize. No, I don't. It's my show. I can say whatever I want to. Let's get to the news of the week. Let's talk about this one really makes me mad. I was reading this headline and my mom walked in earlier and was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I hate them so much. Here is the headline. This is from CBS News. According to 2 agency sources and federal documents obtained by CBS News, there are plans to include arresting migrants in Ohio. Remember Springfield, Ohio, where they eat pets, where Haitian communities live and have been targeted by President Trump. And they are quickly planning to put them on deportation flights to crisis-stricken Haiti. This is illegal. People who are here from Haiti who have been on TPS, by definition, have been here since before 2010. That's 16 years ago. These are people who have been here in legal status for more than a decade, who have been working, renewing their work permits, paying their taxes, raising their children, helping our economy. Many of this particular community, the Haitian TPS community, are home healthcare workers and care for the elderly. Huge portion of that workforce takes care of sick and old people in the United States of America. And the Trump administration is clearly racist against this community, revokes their status. That case goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, the stacked Supreme Court, thanks to Mitch McConnell. Let's be honest about that. Sided with the Trump administration. So TPS is going away, and it's going away quickly. But the Haitian population, they are not eligible for immediate deportation. They've been here longer than 2 years, and they have a right to a hearing before an immigration judge. So obviously what's going to happen here is the Trump administration is going to attempt to round this community up and immediately put them on planes. My message to the Haitian community is you have rights. You are not subject to immediate deportation. So if you get picked up, follow your rights, remain silent, do not sign any documents without reviewing them with a lawyer. And these ICE agents are really skilled at getting you to agree to sign papers. Maybe that's not even in your own language, because it's a lot easier for these guys if you just agree to throw your rights away and you tell them, okay, just go ahead and deport me. And then there's not a lot we can do to stop it when you sign that paperwork. So please, please, if you don't want to be immediately deported, don't sign any documents, no matter what they tell you. Even if they tell you you don't qualify for anything, you're going to be detained for years and years. Like, they lie all the time to get people to sign deportation documents. So to my Haitian community, especially y'all in Springfield, if you get picked up, do not sign a document without reviewing a lawyer, and do your safety planning now. Consult with an immigration lawyer. Think about where your important documents are. Think about who's going to take care of the children. Think about who has access to your bank accounts and can get you money if you do end up getting deported. What's going to happen with your pets? These are all things that you can think about. We have a safety planning packet on my website, abogadakate.com, in English and Spanish. I'm sorry, it's not in Creole. And it's specific to Texas, because this is where we get into state law when we're talking about like powers of attorney and protecting your assets and deciding what happens with your children. That's not immigration law. It's not federal. That's state law. So if you live in Texas, you can go to my website, abogadakate.com, and download the safety planning packet, and that can help you with your kids and your assets and your pets and all of that. But definitely do that work. Like, if you are Haitian and something's pending, definitely go ahead and do that work. All right. Next news item. This is from the Washington Post. An internal email sent to staff in the Office of Refugee Resettlement. This is the agency that does. Sorry, device just fell. So, the Office of Refugee Resettlement is the agency that deals with refugees, and refugees, of course, are people who come into the country with legal status. It's not like asylees who come seeking status. So they've already gone through the whole series of interview questions, and they have lifelong legal status in this country. And yet they are calling for volunteers, after however many billions of dollars. And who the heck is going to volunteer for this? I'm sorry. What? Volunteers to conduct outreach calls to 800 Afghans who were brought to the U.S. in recent years and may be in vulnerable situations. Yeah, freaking right. Yeah, right. A questionnaire for the effort, called the Refugee Outreach and Wellbeing Initiative, just because you call it that doesn't make it true, shows the agency will gather detailed information about household members, including their names, jobs, languages spoken, and immigration status. Some refugee groups express concern at the idea because the Trump administration has taken steps to strip Afghans in the U.S. of legal status as part of the president's broader immigration crackdown. You think that the Trump administration calling for volunteers to call and collect detailed data on who refugees from Afghanistan are living with and what their status is not nefarious? It's like so transparent. It's absurd. They're just like the evil people from, I don't know, like Despicable Me. or something, except not likable in any way, shape, or form. Ugh, it's exhausting. Anyway, don't volunteer for that if you know what's good for you. And then my last news item, and I'll start getting to your question, is about, I did a video on this. USCIS is sending out mass notices canceling work permits for people who have had their green cards approved. And it sounds really scary. Like you get this cancellation or revocation notice of your work permit. And it's like, what is this? And so, and I think it was probably like some AI generated mass mailing. So just giving you a heads up, if you were in the green card process and you got your green card approved, but you had a work permit while you were waiting for the green card, you probably are going to get this notice that cancels your work permit. And don't worry, because you don't need your work permit once you have your green card. You don't need both documents. It's one or the other. So if you already have your green card in hand and they send you a notice canceling your work permit, don't stress. Okay, I'm starting to get to your live questions, guys. The first one I have is, can I stay in the United States if TPS is terminated? No, I mean, you don't have legal status. If you have TPS and that's all you've got and they revoke it, you are out of status and you are subject to being detained and deported. But like I said about the Haitian TPS holders, you have the right to a hearing before a judge, even though they're going to try to issue a fast track removal against you, an expedited removal. They need your approval. They need your permission to do that, to take a voluntary departure. I'm sorry, not an expedited removal. They need your permission to do a voluntary departure. And so don't agree if you want to stay here and fight. You have the right to go before an immigration judge and fight for your case. If you have TPS, there's some other types of status you can file for, like a family petition, like asylum, maybe other humanitarian cases. And so definitely consult with an immigration lawyer about what else you can do and get yourself in some other type of status. Let's see if this is working. Next question. There we go. What happens if my children were born in the United States and I have TPS? I mean, nothing extra happens to you. There is no, and this is where there's so much confusion in anti-immigrant communities about people, like they call it the birth tourism or anchor babies. And they've fed this lie that like, oh, all an immigrant has to do is have a child in the United States and then they're just on welfare. It's like not accurate. The way that the law actually functions is your child can't help you until they are 21 years old. And then only if you entered legally do you get to adjust status, unless there's been abuse or military enrollment in the child or somebody was petitioned many, many years ago. So it's generally not a way actually for undocumented parents to get legal status to have a child in the U.S. There is a defense to deportation for people who are placed in removal proceedings called cancellation of removal. And for that, you have to have 10 years. And this is if you get picked up and you're placed in proceeding. Cancellation requires 10 years in the United States, good moral character for those 10 years, and hardship, exceptional and extremely unusual hardship, meaning like your child is sick or something like that. So this could be a defense to deportation that a lot of the Haitian TPS holders might have. So just good to know what you have available to you. Next question. Keep it going. Two at home Homestead on Instagram. Thank you. You too. We'll keep it up together. I'm trying a new thing where I'm looking at the questions on my computer. So what do you think? Do we like it? I'm so high tech. Except for this question I've already answered, so maybe. Is it true? There we go. Is it true that if TPS ends, I will be deported immediately? This has become sort of the theme of this show. It's actually up to you, believe it or not. That's kind of crazy. It sounds like, based on the CBS News reporting, that they are planning to go and round up people who are losing TPS status, which is just so gross and upsetting. And they're planning to put people on flights and ship them out. But you have to agree to that in order for that to happen, because if you've been here longer than 2 years, they can't deport you without a hearing. They just can't. It's the law, and it's not something that can be changed by the president, etc. So they have to get voluntary departure permission from the person who's being sent away. And what they do is that after you get picked up, like let's say, I mean, unfortunately with Haitian TPS holders and any TPS holders, they have all your data about your job, your address, everything about you. They know where to find you. And so if they come and pick you up, what they're going to do is take you to a processing center. And at this processing center, they're going to put paperwork in front of you, and they're going to say, you essentially, the net of what they're going to say is you have a couple of choices. One, I can get you on a plane right away, go home, and this whole nightmare is over. Two, you can not sign this document and you go to a detention center, and at that detention center, you're going to be there for years and it's really horrible and you don't qualify for anything and there's no way to get released and it takes forever. And it's not like you can just decide you want to be deported once you go to the detention center. They give you a kind of like now or never threat. And it's not true. It's just not true. So if you want to stay and fight, keep in mind, you have rights. You have rights to go before an immigration judge and you have right to seek release on detention. So yes, you do have permission. Can I keep going with these questions? Oops, I just spilled coffee on my computer. Let's see. It says no questions, which I know is not true. So you have the power in your hands in that moment to make a decision. And I have worked with so many people over the years who on some level knew this. Like they've heard me say this. They've heard me say, you're going to get before an ICE officer and they're going to lie to you and they're going to cajole you and they're going to coerce you. And that moment where you're alone, you haven't spoken to anybody, you're worried about your kids, it's a really overwhelming and difficult situation. And people sort of forget everything that they've remembered. So I'm kind of glad that I keep hitting this point in this show because this is happening to so many people right now. And I hope everybody just like plugs this in. When you are before an ICE officer, do not believe their threats. Do not believe their lies. Do not sign the documents that they're putting in front of you until and unless you have reviewed them with an immigration lawyer. Make a safety plan if you can beforehand. Talk to a lawyer beforehand. What is my risk of getting detained? What do I do if I get detained? Do I have all the proper paperwork in place to protect my children? Do all that beforehand so that if you get yourself in this, not you get yourself, if you find yourself, I should say, in this difficult situation, you've already thought through exactly what you're going to do. You know who your emergency contact is. They know their instructions from you. It's kind of like a medical directive, right? When, one of the grown-up things to do is to create an estate plan and to have a medical directive and to talk to the person who is your medical power of attorney and say, like, if I am a vegetable, pull the freaking plug. I don't want to live as a vegetable, if that's true for you. And make sure that person knows that. It's just one of these planning things. Like, if I am detained, this is what I want you to do. I want you to get my kids to Mexico where I'm going to meet them. I want you to transfer all my money to Mexico. Or I want the kids to remain in school. I want my oldest son to graduate high school in the U.S. I need to make sure that he's cared for. Like, these are things that are very individual. And you want to think them through and plan for them before the event occurs. And it's hard to do. It's hard to think through this stuff. Nobody wants to do that. Like, life is hard. Being a grown-up, like paying your bills, doing your laundry, doing the dishes every night, making sure the children are fed and clothed and cared for and emotionally regulated, and making sure that the structure in place. Oh, and it's summer, by the way, and everything is chaotic and in disarray. I don't know about y'all, but I'm like ready for some structure in my life. Like, it is just overwhelmed all the time, constantly, when you are raising a family. And so to add this whole other layer of like safety planning in case of detention, it's too much. It's too much for a human. And I am your ghost of Christmas future, sharing with you what it can look like if you don't create a priority for safety planning. And it's not good. So Let me get to Michelle's question. I know someone is in detention and has only a DWI on their record from over 10 years ago, has young U.S. citizen children, and was denied habeas. The judge said he didn't provide evidence or grounds for the claim. The attorney is appealing. What are our chances of an approval the second time? I'm really sorry to hear that. I'm curious where your friend is detained, because the federal district courts are different. They have different, like the Southern District is much more stringent on, in the Northern District on habeas cases, whereas the Western District, where like San Antonio and Austin are, tends to be more, I want to say correct, but also like pro-immigrant. And so sometimes where you are can matter. Appeals of habeas are tough. I also wonder if there's a chance for bond. We could do a second opinion consultation. So if you want to reach out, we have a really solid detained team at my firm. We have three lawyers. We have a new lawyer on the team, and I think 3 or 4 paralegals, all of whom focus exclusively on detained clients. He's in El Paso. So that's in the Western District. So why don't you DM me for a consultation, and we'll just take a look and see if there's anything we can do. Next question. I have been a lawful permanent resident since 1989, and I have no criminal record. What are the requirements to apply for citizenship? This is you qualify. So you need to have had your green card for at least 5 years, or 3 years if you're married to a U.S. citizen. You have to have good moral character during that time. So you have to file your tax returns and not owe any taxes. You have to have paid child support if you owed it. That's what good moral character looks like. You have to take the exam in English, unless you are, I call it the 50-20 or the 55-15 rule. So either you're over 50 with 20 years of residency, or if you're over 55 with 15 years of residency. If you're that old and you've had your green card that long, you can qualify to take the exam in your own language. Otherwise, you take it in English. And when you study the exam, there's 100 possible questions. There's a new test. I think it's still 100. You just study the questions. But also, one thing people forget to do is study the form. And this is something that if you're going for citizenship and you're preparing for your interview, review your form and your answers to all the questions, and make sure you fully understand what the question is asking and what you answered and why. Because the most sort of mistakes or trip ups happen with questions on the form, not with the exam, because everybody knows to study the exam questions. Not everybody studies the form. And I would say definitely have an attorney, because it just, everything that's going on in the world, you would want to have an attorney. And the benefits to applying for citizenship are you can live anywhere in the globe. You don't lose your status, whereas a permanent resident has to stay in this country. You don't worry about getting detained. You don't worry about getting rejected at the border. You can petition for more relatives, like your siblings or your parents. You can vote. So it's definitely, you don't have to renew your green card every 10 years. So it's better to get citizenship when you can. Miranda, any updates on the Fifth Circuit habeas for iwi mandatory detention? Let me just see. I think Sosnava, let me just look up if anything happened since Friday. Yeah, we're still, so basically the decision was issued. The Sosnava decision is in the Fifth Circuit, and it said that immigrants are entitled to a bond hearing after 90 days of detention, which on its face seems like a good and right thing. The concern us practitioners had is, does that mean they're going to start making people wait 90 days before filing a habeas, which has not been our experience in practice. We've still been getting habeases granted within the 90 days. What the defendants did in that case was they appealed and asked for a rehearing en banc, which means all of the judges. That appeal request was granted, and therefore that vacates the decision while we're awaiting. So it's as if Sosnava didn't even happen while we await the rehearing. September 2026. So God, we're almost in August. July, September, they're going to be expecting briefing and arguments. I wouldn't expect anything until October on that. So we're just going to continue with status quo, which is habeas cases. My daughter was born in the U.S. and has lived in Mexico for the last 5 years. She's now 18. Okay, hold on. Let me reread this because I was thinking about something else. Do you ever do that? Sorry, focus, Kate. My daughter was born in the U.S. and has lived in Mexico for the last 5 years. She is now 18. So like when she was 13, 12 or 13, she moved. Can she petition for me while living in Mexico, or does she need to live in the U.S. and be 21? She doesn't need to live in the U.S., but she does need to be 21. So you're going to have to wait another 3 years in order for her to petition for you. I came to the United States as an adult on a tourist visa, and I don't currently have any immigration process. What would you recommend I do? Let's schedule a consultation with my office, and we'll explore what you're eligible for. As a reminder, we're still doing free legal consultations and are not charging for it. Okay, so here's our action item. Remember, small actions every week just to keep something going. There is a online betting website called Kalshi. It's like, predictions market where people can bet on lots of things. They have applied to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the CTFC, to allow people to bet on ICE arrests. How fucking gross is that? It's so gross. So let's make sure, let's do this as our action item. If you are raising teenage children or young adults who are into online betting, can you make sure that they are being ethical in their activities and that they understand not to bet on the detention and the arrest of human beings? How about that for an action item? And then also check out our YouTube website where we're doing long form videos, explainers on all sorts of things like our FAQs. We've got a lot of videos and we're trying to upload more on the YouTube channel. So those are your 2 action items. Talk to your teens and young adults about online betting and making sure we're not betting on the detention of immigrants. And then check out LGL YouTube long form videos. So we'll see you guys on Thursday in Espanol. I'm sure by then we'll have a whole lot more to discuss. Thanks for being with me.